Hello and a very warm welcome to you all. I'm Vikas Nangia with another episode of CyberWatch, a program through which you get to meet thought leaders, technocrats and subject matter experts. Ladies and gentlemen, in this present day and age, we are consuming technology more than ever before. It's important that we should be mindful while using the technology. We should understand that there is accountability and responsibility involved. Now, be it at the home or at the corporate world, there is someone who calls the shots, who takes the decisions, who is the guardian of this digital world. On the program today, we will talk on this particular topic. We'll try to discover who this individual is. On the program, I have with me three esteemed guests with me. My first guest on the program is Arvind Bansal. Arvind is Chief Information Security Officer for CNS. CNS is a $25 billion supply chain company. My second guest on the program is Harish Jangara. Harish is the CEO and co-founder of Capstone. He's a cyber entrepreneur, a highly experienced IT business executive who started and led $13 million plus IAM and database security practice that has operations in US and India. A third and important guest who's flown in all the way from Dallas, Texas, is quite a familiar face on our network now. He is Lalit Ahluwalia, the founder and CEO of DigitalXForce and iTrustXForce. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us on CyberWatch.
Glad to be here.
Arvind, let me open up the conversation with you and try and understand who would you describe is the guardian of the digital space?
Yeah. So Vikas, one way to look at this is at the enterprise level, we are looking at how do we make money? What are the risks to making these money? And then how do we address those risks? So the role of the CISO is really to identify the critical risk and then build security controls capabilities ranging across people, process, technology to protect the business revenue. It's no different than what we have at the state level. You know, we have state police.
Right.
They are protecting us.
Right.
And no different than if you look at the country level, you know, we have Navy, Army that are protecting us. So in summary, the role of the CISO is to protect the business revenue, protect the people that are part of the businesses.
To make our viewers understand, CISO is Chief Information Security Officer. Would you like to add on to what Arvind said?
In the new digital world, there's a digital risk. Most of the businesses have either adopted or fast adopting digital, and digital is getting faster and faster in day-to-day lives too. The team and the person responsible, the role responsible, is the Chief Information Security Officer. If you really go back in the kingdom days, Raja hota tha, Praja hoti thi, or Senapati hota tha.
Right.
Right? The kingdom mein, you had all this wealth and everything. Who was supposed to protect that wealth? That it doesn't get invaded, it doesn't get taken away. That was the role of a Senapati. CISO is the Senapati of the new digital world.
Right.
That's what it is. Now, don't get just lost in because that one title in Senapati is there. The equally important is the Sena, the army.
Right.
There's the teams around it, which is supposed to, when they specialize, like somebody was good in archery, somebody was good in sword, somebody was good in this.
Right.
The different dimensions of protecting because you need different weapons.
Right.
The digital also requires different weapons. Now, Sena ne apna kaam kiya, Senapati ne kaam kiya. But that protection is not just about them.
Right.
The citizens of that country or that kingdom also had a role to play.
Right.
That's what becomes the consumers. Like you also have a role to play. So yes, there's someone responsible, but everyone is responsible in some ways.
Harish, you'd like to add something to what Arvind and Lalit said?
Yeah, I will echo the same. What I see is, you need to be a business enabler. At the same time, you need to make sure you're not stifling the innovation. You're not hindering the productivity. At the same time, provide the security.
Right.
Sometimes you see this as it's slowing down.
Right.
But those things are necessary to secure the, we can say, the digital world.
So Arvind, how do you empower your team?
So, Vikas, for a good security team, I'll use Lalit's example of Senapati. And you have his Sena, right? So, Sena mein kya hota hai कि first they need to know what is the kingdom, what is the lay of the land. Then they need to have the right weapons to fight the enemy, right? And then they need to know how to use these weapons,
right,
and how to evolve with those weapons. So if we transpose the same example into digital workforce, the first thing you need to do is make sure people understand the business. What is the business? How do we make money? The next part is they need to have the right digital tools. And that's how they're going to protect the kingdom from the bad people. And the last thing is they need to know how to use these tools. What are the skills they need? What are the trainings they need? And what are the new threats that are coming that they need to prepare for?
I like the way how three of you have simplified and made it so simple for viewers to understand what is the role of a CISO. What I don't still understand the complexities involved, in terms of weapon when you talk, in terms of, there could be companies at any level which could have multiple businesses going on simultaneously.
Right.
Now, how does a CISO ensure, so let's say if there is a company that works into healthcare, real estate or finance, all three of them together, are there different CISOs for different areas? Or is it one CISO who makes the decisions for this company that works with multiple platforms?
Right. So generally, there is one CISO that works across the platforms.
Okay.
And one way to look at it from the 3 layers perspective. One, you identified it correctly. A company could be in financial area, in the healthcare area, in the technology areas, and they all need different areas to work with.
Right.
Different skill set. But now if you take it to the second layer, how are these businesses operating in the digital world?
Right.
There are 2 major components. One is the codes and the applications and the third-party services. And the third layer is the infrastructure, whether you own it or it's sitting by third-party hosted.
Right.
Where these codes are running and being used by the business. So the concept of the infrastructure security, whether it is on-prem or on cloud, are going to align. You want to make sure the servers are not accessible, and if it is your own infrastructure, you do it in a data center. Not anybody can just walk in. Just like your home, you keep it closed.
Right.
And if it is a cloud service, the cloud service provider is providing those physical controls, right? And they're, of course, building additional controls on operating system layer. The right disk are being used. The network pipe that is connecting these components is secure. On the code level, again, the same concepts apply. You want to make sure codes are free of known breach defects. Because, if you look at the general world, people try to, when you build a home, you protect it using the same concept.
Right.
You don't have 100 windows. You have one main door to get into so that everybody is coming through that door. You apply the same principle in the security area. The differentiation comes in the third layer, which is where if it is a HIPAA rule, these are the additional things we need to do for security, like
Right.
data protection. If it is a finance rule, PCI DSS, Sarbanes-Oxley, we need to protect the financial statements, credit card and all.
Right.
So the function is performed by a single leader, but using the common concepts of the infrastructure layer, of the software layers, and the differentiating factor is implementation and addition of those controls.
What is a typical day for a CISO? I mean, it is such a complex and intense job, making sure that you stay on top of everything. So there's a huge accountability involved.
The job of a guardian has always been a complex job. And just like, I'm going to build upon the kingdom analogy, right?
Right.
When you had the chief of army or the Senapati, right, like do what it's supposed to do, what it starts with first? It starts with first you need to have a strategy in place. Without a strategy, everything falls apart. You cannot just react.
Right, right.
Or just respond. You got to have a broad strategy. Okay, if we get getting attacked from these places, we need to be ready with this. Where we should be investing. All those things really come, and appropriately, you get the funding to do that, right?
Right.
Then comes like the what tools, weapons I need to protect, but also how much I need to get people trained and articulate that.
Right.
Then is like the execution. Sometimes you have to execute those things. Things happen. Like war happens, battles happen, you get attacked, you got to protect all that.
Right.
That means it really keeps you on the toes all the time. Now, the challenge is you're also not looking outside in. You also have to start looking inside out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is happening inside your organization?
Right.
The CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer in this Guardian, of course, who's supported by the other specialists in the different areas because people know different tools or processes.
Right.
While they're helping this person, they have to also think through all kind of attacks. And those attacks in today's time and age, think COVID as an example when everything turned remote.
Yeah.
Took Russia-Ukraine crisis when cyber warfare was at the forefront.
Right.
Right? Then you talking about different digital wars happening. We talk about Russia and China and Middle East, all those hacking community where you cannot even do. Where all you gonna really protect yourself, and which means you always have to remain alert, vigilant, and really on your toes to really make sure things are protected.
Right.
That's what makes this life complex. But on the other hand, if you have the right strategy, if you have the right pillars, and you're doing the job, it's not as complex, but it lends to what you've planned and thought through, and
Right.
how well you execute.
Right, right. So you gave a good synopsis, like an overview, how to look at this position, this title that you hold in a company. Harish, can you really talk about, if we dive a little bit more deep into the title and the role of CISO, what a typical day looks like for CISO?
CISO, apart from your guardian, you also be a, you can say the orchestrator, or you need to collaborate with multiple departments.
Right.
You're working with various departments. You're putting the strategy, you're putting the best practices, you're enabling the various teams, and you have to delegate the responsibilities various departments. Look
Right.
at the mayor, have to work with the police department, fire department, and various other departments.
Right.
So you enable those teams, educate those teams, so they can carry the responsibilities.
Right.
So delegation, also looking at the new threats that's coming.
Right.
How do you mitigate those new threats? Or maybe you look at the new weapons that's coming.
Right.
You look at the strategy to train, your resources on those new weapons.
Right.
So typical days, you do the day-to-day operation. That's you have the strategy around, but also look at what is the new thing that's coming. I need to keep looking at.
Who are you more interacting with? You call them as cyber officers, or how do you define, what are the terminologies involved over here? Explain us that also, Arvind.
So because the biggest interaction that happens, is at the business level.
Okay.
So like Lalit outlined, hey, strategy is the biggest thing, and that's how where the people are moving gets defined there.
Right.
To understand the strategy, you need to understand the business.
Right.
So today, how are we making money? What are our plans to make the money tomorrow? Hey, are we going to do mergers and acquisition?
Right.
Are we going to change our pricing platforms? Are we going to incorporate new technologies, new services? How are those new services coming in? How are we changing those platforms? And then how do we make sure those are secure from the evolving threats?
Right.
So the biggest time that goes into is exactly that, making sure we work with the business and we are completely aligned with revenue generation. And then right next to that part is our strategy is evolving. And in addition to that, we also need to look at the evolving threats that are
Right.
coming in.
Right.
Not just for the new revenue pieces, but for the existing revenue.
Right.
Why? Because we have to follow the law. We have our bounds and resources that are limited. But for a bad guy, sky is the world.
Right.
They have unlimited resources in terms of going after somebody,
Right.
and there's no law protecting them or preventing them from doing the things. So that's where we spend our most time, aligning with the business, protecting from the evolving threats, and then ensuring that the alignment is coming along with the cyber organization for them.
Interesting. Lalit, you'd like to add something to that?
No, I think this is the way Arvind put it is really great, because many times people think this guardian of the digital or the chief information security officer is a technology job. Imagine the same chief of army, the Senapati, right?
Right.
He didn't know where the water supplies were coming from. He didn't put a plan to protect that water supply.
Right.
You can defend the whole castle now, but somebody attacked and cut the water supply out. What's going to happen? You're going to come out of your castle.
Correct. Correct.
You didn't even know like what the business flow was happening to really protect that. This is where you miss the strategy.
Right.
You put all the right things. You put the archers, you put like, swords, you put like all the right men with the right places, but you miss where the revenue or the flow was coming and didn't protect that. That's the real business, and integration with that is important, right? The another thing, just like in our day-to-day lives, what we talk about, the CISO also has to report into or talk to the board, the executives, understand where the direction is taking. Because you have to report on how things are going.
Correct.
And get their buy-in, get their support. But I also say it's equally important to know the pulse of what's going on in the organization. It might not be at the individual level, but at the team lead level, the module lead, hey, how's your department, how's your unit working? Is it in the right form?
Right.
Do you need extra ammunition? Do you guys need extra training? Do you need extra empowerment?
Right.
Those interactions are equally important. Last but not the least, I'm only as intelligent as I'm consuming the information from outside world.
Right.
What are the other kingdoms doing to protect themselves? Are they latest and the greatest thing happening?
Right.
Am I consuming the threat intelligence? Maybe there is a big foreign country invading all my kingdoms in my country. Do I need to prepare myself for that? That's the intelligence. Am I really getting the right source of intelligence, or am I strategizing with other, the CISOs or the Chief Information Security Officers, so we all can collaborate and share? These are the interactions I really see happening in that particular role, which makes you very impactful.
Wonderful. Now, while Lalit and Arvind and Harish are talking and giving us the example of kingdoms, our tagline at CyberWatch is "Let's fight the dark side together." So understand it sinks in very well with our theme and our topic today. We'll be right back after these messages. Viewers, stay tuned and keep watching CyberWatch. Welcome back. You're watching CyberWatch. I'm Vikas Nangia. Ladies and gentlemen, our program CyberWatch is powered by DigitalXForce and iTrustXForce. Today on the program, we're talking about the role of CISO, that's Chief Information Security Officer. On the program, we have with us Arvind Bansal, Lalit Ahluwalia, and Harish Jangara. Before we resume back to our conversation on our topic, let's take a quick look at the CyberWatch News Flash. Sextortion training materials found on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and YouTube, according to new report. A form of cybercrime called financial sextortion is rapidly rising in North America and Australia, with a major portion driven by a non-organized cybercriminal group in West Africa who call themselves Yahoo Boys, according to a new study from the Network Contagion Research Institute, NCRI. Sextortion is a crime that involves adults coercing kids and teens into sending explicit images online, according to the FBI. The criminals threaten their victims with wide distribution of the explicit images, including to the victims' friends and family, unless the victims pay them repeatedly through a variety of peer-to-peer payment apps, cryptocurrency transfers, and gift cards. NCRI, a non-profit, found cybercriminals use the social apps Instagram, Snapchat, and Wiz to find and connect with their marks. Yahoo Boys tactics gained popularity among some as a way to get rich quickly in West Africa, where there are scant other means of earning income, according to a 2023 Atavist investigation. Popular songs referencing Yahoo Boys have lent these cybercriminal gangs cultural clout. All right, that was a great piece of news flash powered by DigitalXForce and iTrustXForce. Harish, I'd like to start this segment with you. In the previous segment, you mentioned to me that CISO has to make sure that you work with different teams. My question to you is, how do you ensure in capacity of a CISO the good camaraderie and the work culture between the teams?
Once you have a strategy, you always have your vision statement and mission statement. We all of an organization working towards a common objective.
Right.
Like Arvind mentioned or Lalit mentioned, there is how the business is functioning. You need to make sure the business is functioning, we are innovating, the revenue is coming. With that objective, and if align every department with that objective, I think that's your priority, and that's how you need to make sure every department understand the objective of the business, right? And with that, you can carve out, or you can say you can have the different messaging for different department. You put the best practices for different for the, you guards of the kingdom versus the archer of the kingdom. Mm-hmm. You have the different messaging for them. You work with them, understand their objective. Like I said earlier as well, sometimes you see this. CISO is slowing down the things, but those are necessary for sometimes for the security. Mm-hmm. CISO always looking at not stifling down again the innovation, but at the same time you also need to balance. It's a tightrope walker.
Correct.
You need to balance between security and the business.
Wonderful. Lalit, you'd like to add on what Harish said?
No, I think it's summarized really well. Like how you address the audience, there is a tuned or tailored messages for everyone. How you train. I just want to highlight one important aspect, which we were talking with Avni in one of the earlier episodes.
Right.
What's the weakest link in the whole mix?
Yes.
Is the human factor.
Right.
If somebody penetrated you through or made those people vulnerable, like in physical world, I kidnap someone and then attract ransomware and make them do certain things.
Correct.
There's a human factor.
And you're referring to corruption, bribery, correct.
All of that happens, right?
Correct.
So training the human, the factor, is also a big component of this job, interacting, making sure they understand what is the risk, are they fully equipped. It's simple as phishing or smishing and other things, don't fall victim of those activities.
Right.
But more than that, there are things that can lead to fraudulent activities, people or insider attacks. I think in one of the episodes when critical infrastructure, we'll talk about how somebody who was not happy with their promotion locked everything for the water utilities and went home. All right, now the whole city is out of water, and there's only one person as the kingdom. Now, this might not look a cyber threat, but availability of a service, which we talked about, is also cyber. How do I interact and make sure I create awareness from the human level to then different departments that Harish said? Different teams need to be tailored differently, businesses interaction. These are all critical components of those interactions.
Arvind, in the previous segment, you were mentioning about acquisitions and mergers. Mm-hmm. As a CISO, what are some of the key factors that you keep in consideration when mergers and acquisitions are happening?
Yeah. So M&As are like getting married. You're not just acquiring a company, but you're bringing somebody in your family.
Yeah.
And you just want to make sure that the family is secured, right? So the top three consideration I think about when looking at M&As, the number one, things will go bad. Because bad guys can come in from anywhere at any time. It's what we control is how we respond and recover when there is a cyber incident or a breach.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I look for when we do M&As. Hey, together as a family, can we respond and recover from a breach? The second part I think about is the risk-based security, which means I can't secure everything that's out there. We need to find what is the highest risk, what is most critical for the business to function, and just secure that first versus going all up, right? And the third part is, the example of a home. In our home, we have limited number of windows. There's a front door at the maximum back door, and we keep them locked. We keep them closed.
Right.
We keep them shut. The digital network, the digital business is no different. You want to make sure that, hey, on the external facing surface, there are not a lot of windows or broken windows or doors out there. So we look for those security defects and shut down those windows and doors.
If you have any questions, queries, concerns, I would encourage you to send your video questions right into us at cyberwatch@tvasiausa.com. Again, that's cyberwatch@tvasiausa.com. And to get more information on cybersecurity, of course, you can log on to the websites of DigitalXForce and iTrustXForce. Viewers, until next time, this is Vikas Nangia signing off. Thank you so much for joining us.